Over a year ago, the fight between these two powerful titans is what started my show in the first place. And now it's time for them to fight again. Hulk, the strongest one there is, and Doomsday, the monster that killed Superman. I'm one fish mob, and it's my job to see who would win in a fight. The Incredible Hulk, the strongest one there is, a member of the Avengers, a former member of the former Fantastic Four, and so on. But he was originally just called Robert Bruce Banner. Bruce was the son of Dr. Brian Banner, an atomic physicist who lived with his wife Rebecca. Although Rebecca deeply loved Bruce, who returned her affection, Brian hated their child. He was an alcoholic and a very, very angry man. Brian was driven by an insane jealousy of Bruce for being an object of Rebecca's love. Further, Brian believed that his radiation work had altered his DNA and given him a mutant son. Brian then abused Bruce and finally murdered Rebecca out of spite. Eventually, the police caught up with him and then placed him in a mental institute, kicking and screaming all the way there, vowing vengeance against Bruce. After that, he was raised by his aunt and father's sister, Susan Banner, who understood his great pain and rage over his childhood sufferings thanks to his crazed father. She in return raised him with love and care as if he were her own child. Bruce grew up from then on as a highly withdrawn, intellectually gifted youth, in fact a child prodigy. Years later, Bruce obtained his doctorate in nuclear physics, which led him to become the scientist who would work on a certain gamma bomb. With the bomb about to go off, he noticed the teenager Rick Jones walking around on the test range. Although he rushed out into the test site and heroically pushed the boy into the protective trench to save him from the blast, Bruce was exposed to extreme amounts of gamma radiation that altered his DNA structure due to gamma rays and trauma passed down by his father, which caused him to become a giant green, at first gray, monster of incredible power when he starts to get angry, known simply as the Hulk. Now, being pursued by his nemesis, Thunderbolt Ross, who is also his girlfriend's father, Bruce is often on the run while trying to find a cure for his problem and keep calm as much as he can while at the same time battling supervillains. As the Hulk, Bruce obtains superhuman strength, the confirmed max limit being able to lift up 150 billion tons, and is considered to be potentially limitless. His strength also increases proportionally in a great level of emotional distress, anger in particular. But his strength isn't just in his arms. His leg muscles allow him to run at super speeds, and just like the arms, the legs have limitless strength, but they do not have limitless speed. Once he reaches a certain speed, his legs become so strong they can no longer run along the ground, therefore he jumps to travel. When leaping, the Hulk uses his superhumanly strong leg muscles to leap great distances. The Hulk has been known to cover hundreds of miles in a single bound. He once leaped almost into orbit around the Earth. But even though the Hulk is more or less savage all the time, he has developed his own special moves that go along with his super strength, such as the thunderclap. The Hulk can slam his hands together, creating a shockwave that can deafen people, send objects flying, and extinguish fires. As a result, his thunderclap has been compared to hurricanes and sonic booms. The Hulk's durability is just as impressive. The Hulk shows high resistance to physical damage nearly regardless of the cause, and has shown resistance to extreme temperatures, mind control, nuclear explosions, poisons, all diseases with the exception of the zombie virus, and can survive planet-busting explosions and even attacks from Galactus. And to help him with his already insane durability, he has a healing factor. He regenerated limbs, vital organs, and damaged or destroyed areas of tissue at an amazing rate. The Hulk's body also has a gland which creates pressure in the Hulk's lungs and effectively lets him breathe underwater and move quickly between varying depths without concerns about decompression or nitrogen necrosis. But if his anger increases past a certain limit, he becomes what is known simply as the World War Hulk. In this state, the Hulk fought Sentry, who is the Marvel version of Superman, to a complete standstill, averting them both powerless for a certain amount of time, and is formerly Hulk's strongest state. Being the Friend estimated his strength to be around 5.886 times 10 to the power of 24 newtons. But that isn't just Hulk's only powerful state. If his anger goes unchecked and he goes critical mass, his true most powerful state is revealed: the World Breaker Hulk. This state has been shown to have the potential at breaking the world apart. A single stomp can cause earthquakes estimated to be 5 times 10 to the power of 14 newtons that stretches over 1,000 cubic miles. The shockwave can also cause a tsunami estimated at 1.5 times 10 to the power of 17 newtons to cause. In total, World War Hulk's estimated max strength is over 2.3555 times 10 to the power of 25 newtons. So World Breaker Hulk is far stronger than that. Over the years, Hulk has had many impressive feats. He stalemated with Warrior Madness Thor, who is 10 times more powerful than normal Thor. Withstood Human Torch's Nova Blast, which is equivalent to 1 million degrees Fahrenheit max and 100 Gs of pressure. Lifted a 150 billion ton mountain, threw Fin Fang Foom to the moon, has the potential for limitless strength, and destroyed an asteroid 2 times the size of Earth into pieces with one punch. But the Hulk does have weaknesses. The Hulk is vulnerable to gamma radiation draining, doesn't start transformation at peak strength and durability. Metals like vibranium and adamantium can pierce skin in early stage. Usually has a childlike mind as Savage Hulk, and has been reverted back to Banner by puppies and one of Spider-Man's jokes. I'm not kidding. The Hulk, in the end, is still one of Marvel's strongest heavy hitters. In the distant past on Krypton, long before the humanoid Kryptonian race had gained dominance over the planet, during this time period, Krypton was a violent, hellish world where only the absolute strongest of creatures could survive at the time. The world's dominant life forms were said to be the most dangerous creatures in the universe. A mysterious alien named Bertron wished to create the ultimate life form. To do so, Bertron and his team sent a baby onto the surface of the planet. You heard me, a baby. And yes, they did plan on it being instantly killed by the harsh environment or the vicious creatures inhabiting it. Each time, whatever of the life forms remains that survived were harvested and used again to create a better, stronger version than the previous. In short, the mad scientist was using the method of cloning to accelerate the evolution of the being he was creating. Through decades of this process, the being who would eventually become Doomsday was forced to endure the agony of death thousands upon thousands of times. The memory of these countless deaths was recorded in his genes and it drove it to hate all life. Eventually, Doomsday gained the ability to evolve against what killed him in his prior life, without the need of Bertron's technology. At this point, he proceeded to hunt down and kill all of the lethal creatures that inhabited Krypton. But when it saw Bertron, Doomsday considered him and the team a threat due to their roles in his multiple deaths, and attacked the ship they were working in. Bertron himself met his death at the hands of his own creation. Doomsday, as a result of his experimentation, has gained many powers and abilities. He has energy resistance, having both been paralyzed by Superman with a sound gun and Wave Rider with chronal energy. The second attempts just backfired or made him impervious. He has a highly accelerated healing factor that allows him to heal and regenerate from most damage almost instantly. He has the ability of power replication, which allows him to replicate and restores the special abilities of any super beings in his immediate proximity, using absorption cells. But the most obvious thing about Doomsday is his superhuman strength. Doomsday can easily overpower and kill humans and other aliens like Kryptonians, can bend and break through reinforced steel, can destroy impenetrable barriers, can lift extremely heavy objects, can uproot trees and buildings and other structures as well as decimate them with his might. He is also strong and powerful enough to overcome entire rosters of superhumans like the Justice League. Being that same friend estimated his max strength to be over 2,780 septillion newtons. His other most notable part of him is his invulnerability. Almost complete resistance to all forms of physical and mental types of harm. Me and that friend estimate that it would take the force of 59,058 miles per hour for him to just feel it hit him. He has his own self-sustenance. This can allow him to survive in space, can operate while in the direct presence of space vacuums, vortexes, and wormholes, and doesn't require oxygen, water, or any form of nourishment to maintain himself. Despite being more focused on strength and durability, his stamina is still superhuman. He can take part in superpowered battles for months on end and fought Superman through Metropolis for days of physical combat until even the Man of Steel was broken. The most surprising thing about him is his speed for his bulk size. In a matter of moments, Doomsday managed to render most of the Justice League incapable of fighting, even though he is incapable of flight, but due to his extremely dense leg muscles, he can leap miles at a time. But his most dangerous aspect about his body isn't just his strength or durability, but also his spines. Doomsday can control the growth of his spines, both of which grows on his shoulders and knuckles. The spines on his knuckles are presumably used like brass knuckles. The spines are dense enough to puncture Superman's skin, and me and my friend estimated the spine's toughness. It would require 7.751 centimeters to the power of 3 to simply break one, but Doomsday's most useful power is his resurrections. Whenever he dies, he comes back to life, immune to what killed him. Doomsday is certainly no pushover. Doomsday managed to kill Superman, overpowered Darkseid in a physical confrontation, and survived his Omega beams, slaughtered thousands of Green Lanterns, defeated various members of the Justice League, has always survived deaths, coming back bigger and stronger, and that's pretty much about it. But Doomsday is certainly weak in some other aspects. His resurrections take time, has been defeated before, he's bad at aerial combat. Reducing Doomsday's body to the subatomic level and then scattering these particles across time and space is sufficient to slow his regenerating ability. He can be disintegrated by a concentrated plasmatic energy beam. Superman managed to hurt Doomsday by snapping one of his knee protrusions, and his most critical flaw is also his greatest strength when it comes to fighting Kryptonians: his Kryptonian rage. Overriding instinct to treat any being with Kryptonian DNA as an automatic threat. Either way, Doomsday is still capable of bringing the apocalypse to Earth if given the chance.
Fight!
So why did the Hulk win? Well, we'll have to look into it with more detail. In the beginning of the fight, even though the Hulk was a lot faster and more athletic, Doomsday was a lot more durable and a lot stronger, with Hulk being unable to keep up with Doomsday. But that changed when he became the World War Hulk. In this state, Hulk could easily keep up with Doomsday, matching him perfectly in strength and becoming a lot more agile than what Doomsday could keep up with, thanks to his increasing leg strength. But Doomsday's defense was still capable of keeping up with World War Hulk as well. Eventually, when Hulk entered the World Breaker state, it became far more powerful than Doomsday, making his physical defense useless and a lot more powerful in all previously mentioned categories, thus allowing Hulk to easily overpower, outmaneuver, and eventually defeat Doomsday. In the end, Doomsday just needed to smash a little bit harder. The winner is the Hulk.